Hello and welcome to another Mustard Tree Creative session. I'm going to be doing something a little bit messier this week. I'm going to be using found objects to make a set of artist tools and then using those tools to make some abstract art. So if this sounds like the type of project that interests you, then please keep watching. The first step is to gather together your found materials. You might do this over the course of a few days. What I did was I just rummaged through my recycling bin and pulled out anything which I thought had an interesting shape or interesting texture. I also had a look around my flat for any bits which I thought might help make the tools. After you've watched the rest of the video, you'll probably have a clearer idea of the type of things which it might be useful to look for. So as you can see, I gathered together quite a few objects. The main thing that I wanted to make sure of was that I had a good variety of textures. The second step is going to be constructing the tools. All you're going to need for this is glue, tape and scissors. I'll just briefly speed through the tools that I made from my found objects, but I'm imagining that everybody's tools will be different, and I'd encourage you to use your imagination to make some exciting tools from whatever objects you've gathered together. So that was me making a bubble wrap roller out of a scrap of old bubble wrap and a cardboard tube, and here I am moving on to making a stamp out of some string and a chunk of cork. It was really useful to have a strong and fast drying glue for this. I'm getting that tinfoil scrunched up because texture is key for this project. Here I am making another roller out of an old can. I'm just gluing some bottle caps to some cardboard to make a stamp. And finally, I had this idea that I might be able to make a sort of brush out of the string and some lollipop sticks, so I'm just securing those two together here. And that's where I left it for that stage. I was happy with my 5 artist tools. From left to right, I've got a stamp, a roller, a brush, another stamp and another roller. And the final stage is going to be using the tools to make some abstract art. So I've just got some paper, some paint, I'm using acrylic, it probably is best for this project, but anything will work. Some paintbrushes and a tray to put the paint in. I've got one of these, but you could equally use an old food tray. I'm going to go with this one just because I've got it, so I may as well. I also used a roller, but it's not essential, so if you don't have one, then don't worry. Obviously, this stage in the process is going to differ entirely for everyone depending on what kind of tools they've made, so I'll just use this part of the video to talk through some basic advice and techniques for printing. I want to get a relatively even coating of the paint in my tray, at least the size of my tool. I'm going to use my roller because I've got one, but I could have achieved this with a paintbrush. I'm using a sort of rocking technique here, both when I apply the paint to the stamp and then when I apply the stamp to the paper. So I'm pressing the stamp down firmly and then rocking my hand slightly backwards and forwards just to ensure that I'm making the best print possible. Before using the next tool, again I'm just making sure I've got an even coverage in the tray to apply the paint onto the tool with. The first time you use your tools, you'll probably just be focusing on investigating what kind of marks the tools can make, so you might not be thinking too much about the layout, and that's fine. I could tell straight away that this brush wasn't going to work quite how I'd imagined, so I just got creative thinking of different ways I could apply paint to the brush and then apply the brush to the paper. As I said, it's all just about experimenting and seeing what happens. I actually ended up really liking the marks that this tool made. I decided at this point that I was liking how the page was looking and I thought it was time to move on to the next colour. I did manage to drip water onto my page in the meantime, but that doesn't matter, it'll dry. I stuck to just using 2 colours in this project, but of course it's entirely up to you what you do in yours. Here you can see I'm using pretty much the same process as before, making sure that the tray is well coated and then making sure that the tool is well coated before using it. Now that the page is a little fuller, I'm thinking a little bit more about layout and where I want to be making my marks. To make sure that I was going to get a thick enough coating of paint onto this stamp and for the paint to go in all the right places, I painted it on directly with a paintbrush. Again, I'm just using this rocking technique to make sure I get the best print possible. And then, for some reason, I didn't feel like the painting was finished yet, so I decided to experiment by painting around the rim of this can and printing some circles. And I was also interested to experiment with the texture of a square of cardboard. I think at this point I realised I should probably just stop adding random extra bits to my painting and call it a day. While some of the tools obviously worked better than others, I think that the variety of textures and shapes and how they're balanced with each other is really the strength of these pieces. But more so, there's just something so satisfying about being so involved with the process from start to finish. And in the outcomes, you can see not only the art that you've made, but the tools that you constructed from the objects you found. Let me know how you get on making your own artist toolkit. As always, I'd love to see the results.